I never thought I'd be the guy writing about discovering his wife's affair, but here I am, and honestly, I'm still trying to process everything. My name's Mike, and I was with Lisa for about 5 years before everything fell apart. We seemed fine. At least I thought so. She was the kind of woman who could be bitchy and manipulative, but I guess I was blind to just how deep her lies went. The signs started small. She'd be more irritable lately, snapping over nothing, and I noticed she was secretive about her phone. She'd hide it when I entered the room, and sometimes she'd get a text, quickly hide her screen, and then give me an overly defensive excuse like, "It's just work stuff" or "a friend." I didn't want to believe she was cheating, but the gut feeling kept gnawing at me. Then came the funeral. My dad passed away unexpectedly, and it was a hell of a blow to all of us. Lisa was supposed to be there for me, and in a way she was on the surface. But I noticed her phone kept buzzing late into the night. She'd whisper on calls, her voice low. And I caught her lying about where she was. She told me she was talking with her sister, but I had a sneaky suspicion she was talking to someone else. One day I found her phone lying face down, and I saw a message preview that stopped me cold. It was from someone named Jake, the same name as my best friend. I felt my stomach drop. Curiosity got the better of me, and I unlocked her phone when she was in the shower. What I saw next made my blood run cold. Texts filled with flirtatious nonsense, late-night calls, plans that weren't about saving grief or support, but clearly about more than that. They were intimate, dirty, and downright disgusting. It wasn't just sex, either. It was the kind of betrayal that cuts deep because it's so calculated. She was lying to my face, telling me she was faithful, and meanwhile she was sneaking around with Jake behind my back, all while I was grieving my dad. I couldn't believe it. I honestly wondered how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to what she was capable of. The worst part was knowing she'd been lying. So easily, so convincingly. She was the queen of manipulation, always bitchy when she didn't get her way, but now I see it's just her way of hiding the truth. I didn't even confront her right away. At first, I just sat there staring at her phone, feeling everything I thought was real crumbling in an instant. How could she be so cold, so dishonest? How could she betray me at my worst moment? My head was spinning, and I knew I couldn't keep this secret forever, even if part of me wanted to pretend I never saw it in the first place. When I finally did confront her, she lied again, told me it was nothing, that I was paranoid, and accused me of overreacting because I was stressed about the funeral. That was her go-to line: deny, deflect, lie. But I wasn't stupid anymore. The evidence was there. Every message, every call, every sneaky glance she'd stolen. She was cheating on me with Jake. And it hurt so much, I can't even put into words how betrayed I felt. Not just by her, but by someone I thought was my best friend. All of it happening during the worst week of my life. I spent the night sitting on the couch, staring at her phone, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut 1,000 times over. I kept asking myself, how did I not see this coming? How long has this gone on? Was I just blind, or was I just so desperate to hold onto what we had that I ignored all the warning signs? I was angry, devastated, and honestly just numb. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. The betrayal cut so deep that part of me just wanted to burn everything down, start over, forget her. But I also wanted answers, closure. And I knew this wasn't going to be easy. After I found the messages and saw the truth staring back at me, I couldn't just keep pretending. I had to confront her. I remember the moment vividly. I was sitting on the couch, her phone in my hand, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, trying to process everything, trying to find the right words. But I knew I couldn't keep it in any longer. I had to ask her outright. I called her into the living room, and she looked annoyed, like she knew she was about to get caught but didn't want to admit it. She tried her usual "what's this about?" bullshit, acting innocent like she had no idea what I was talking about. I just pointed to her phone and said, "Who's Jake?" Her face immediately went pale for a second before she shot back with her typical bitchy attitude. "What are you talking about? That's just some guy from work. You're reading too much into it." I didn't buy it. I knew she was lying. I felt my stomach tighten, but I kept my voice steady, just enough to sound angry but not out of control. Stop lying, Lisa. I saw the messages. The late-night calls, the flirting. You think I'm stupid or that I wouldn't find out." She scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, you're so paranoid. You're still grieving and you're taking this out on me. Maybe you're the one with the problem, not me." That was the classic move: blame the other person, turn it around. She always played the victim, even when she was caught red-handed. But I was about to fall for that. I knew what I saw, plain and simple. Her reaction didn't surprise me, but it still pissed me off. She kept lying, insisting it was just sex with a guy from work, like that somehow made it okay. That's the thing with her, she's so bitchy, so manipulative, she can spin any lie to make herself look innocent. But I knew better. I saw the texts. I saw the calls. I saw her planning to meet him again, even after I was right there, devastated over my dad. The anger started bubbling up, but I also felt something else: heartbreak, real heartbreak. I realized I'd been so blind, so desperate to hold on to what I thought we had, that I ignored all the signs. And now I was standing here, realizing that everything I trusted about her was a lie. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. I asked her one last time, voice trembling, "Are you cheating on me? Are you sleeping with Jake?" She rolled her eyes so hard it was like she couldn't believe I even had to ask. "God, you're such a drama queen. Of course I'm not. You're just making shit up because you're emotional. You always do this when you're upset." That was it. I looked at her, feeling a mix of rage and sadness. I told her she could go to hell, packed a bag, and told her I wasn't going to tolerate her lies anymore. I didn't want her to stay, not anymore. Not after I'd seen what she really was. I felt like my world had shattered, and all I could think about was the pain of betrayal, how she'd thrown everything away for some stupid affair with my best friend Jake. And the worst part, she didn't even seem to care. She just shrugged, smirked, and said, "Whatever, Mike, you'll get over it." That's when I knew I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. I was hurt, furious, completely broken inside. I kicked her out that night, told her to leave and never come back. It was the hardest thing I ever did, but I knew I had no choice. I'd trusted her, and she'd thrown that trust in the trash. As she walked out the door, I stared after her, feeling like I'd lost everything. My dad's funeral was supposed to bring us together, and instead it revealed her true face. I thought I'd never get over the betrayal, but deep down I knew this was just the start. I had to figure out what to do next, how to pick up the pieces of a marriage that was never really what I thought it was. And boy, I had a long road ahead. The days that followed were a blur of anger, sadness, and confusion. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and honestly, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My trust was shattered, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face smirking, lying straight to my face. I kept replaying everything: the moments I missed, the subtle signs I ignored, and now the brutal reality that she'd been cheating on me with my best friend Jake during what should have been one of the worst weeks of my life. I started digging deeper. I needed answers, even if I knew I wasn't going to like what I found. I went through her phone again, just to confirm what I already knew. Her messages with Jake weren't just flirtatious. They were filled with explicit plans, promises to hide things from me, and detailed conversations about how they'd keep their affair a secret. It was like they wanted me to find out, but also wanted me to keep quiet. That made me furious. I also checked her social media and email. Sure enough, there were private messages and emails that she thought were hidden from me. Every screenshot, every deleted message I found just confirmed how deep her lies went. She'd been sneaking around for months, not just during that week. She'd been planning this, probably even before the funeral. It was like she'd been waiting for the right moment to finally betray me completely. I felt betrayed by Jake too, my supposed best friend. How could he do this to me? We'd been through everything together. Hell, I considered him a brother. But apparently, even that wasn't enough. He'd been texting her, calling her late at night, and I even found a few messages where he was trying to convince her to leave me, promising her something better. It was sickening. I decided I had to confront him too. I couldn't just let this go, but I knew I had to be smart about it. No rash moves. No emotional outbursts. I waited until I saw him at work, then approached him in the parking lot. I kept my voice calm but icy, telling him I knew what he'd done. His face went pale and he stammered, trying to deny everything. But I pulled out my phone and showed him the messages I'd saved. His eyes darted everywhere but mine, and he finally admitted it, saying it was just sex, that he never meant to hurt me. Yeah, right. I told him he was a piece of shit and to stay away from her, from me, forever. That was the moment I realized I couldn't trust either of them anymore. My best friend had turned into my biggest enemy, and my wife was just a manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with everything. I felt an intense mixture of rage and heartbreak. The man I'd called my brother had betrayed me, and the woman I loved had been lying to me for who knows how long. It hit me like a freight train. I was alone in a way I'd never been before. I started thinking about what I wanted to do next. Part of me wanted to lash out, burn everything to the ground, and make them pay for what they'd done. But I also knew that wouldn't bring any peace. I had to be smarter. I decided to cut ties with both of them completely. No texts, no calls, no contact, just pure, cold silence. I wanted to leave behind the pain and focus on healing, even if it felt impossible right now. The thing is, I don't think I'll ever forget how betrayed I felt. How stupid I was to trust them to believe in us or friendship. It's a brutal lesson, but one I guess I needed. I learned that people can hide so much behind a pretty face or a fake smile, and sometimes the ones you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I'm starting to accept that I can't control other people's choices, only my reactions. Now I'm just trying to rebuild. I've started seeing a counselor, trying to work through the anger and betrayal. I'm focusing on myself, on what I need to move forward. The pain is still there, but I know I'll get through it. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. No matter how much it hurts, I won't let them break me. I'll come out of this stronger, even if it takes time. That's what I keep telling myself every day. The hardest part after everything hit was dealing with the aftermath. I felt like I was walking around with a gaping wound that wouldn't close. Every day was a struggle to get out of bed, to pretend I wasn't falling apart inside. I'd catch myself staring at old photos of us, memories that seemed so distant now, like a life I once knew but no longer recognized. Her betrayal didn't just hurt, it shattered the foundation of everything I thought was real between us. I kept replaying the moment I found her texting Jake. That image haunted me. The way her fingers moved across the screen with such familiarity, the flirtatious tone of their messages. It wasn't just about the sex. It was about the betrayal of trust, the manipulation, the lies she'd spun to keep me in the dark. How could she do this during my father's funeral? How could she be so callous, so cold? It made me question everything about her, about us. People say love can blind you, but this was like waking up from a nightmare I couldn't escape. In the days that followed, I did everything I could to avoid her. I changed my routines, avoided places I knew she frequented, and kept my circle small. I didn't want to see her face, didn't want to hear her excuses. Honestly, I was angry enough to want revenge, but I knew better than to act impulsively. I needed time, time to breathe, to think, to figure out what I truly wanted. I also reached out to some friends, trusted ones, who knew the situation and could give me honest advice. They told me to be patient, that I deserved better, and that I should focus on myself. One thing I did realize was how much her bitchy attitude masked her true nature. She was always full of shit, always trying to manipulate people to get her way. That attitude she threw around, acting like she was the one hurt and misunderstood, was just her way of hiding the guilt. I saw through it now. I saw her for what she really was, a liar, a cheat, someone who would betray her own vows just to get her way and feel powerful. That realization made me more determined than ever to move on, even if it hurt like hell. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about the lies, the gaslighting, the way she twisted everything to make me doubt myself. I kept thinking about how she'd told me she was done with Jake, how she'd promised I was the only one. But her actions told a different story. She was dismissive, lying through her teeth, and I was stupid enough to believe her. That's the thing about people like her, they can lie and manipulate so easily, and you're left standing there wondering what's real anymore. The emotional toll was brutal. I'd go from rage to despair within minutes. One moment I'd be furious, ready to explode, and the next, I'd be lying in bed, crying secretly, feeling like I'd lost a part of myself. I'd never felt so alone, so betrayed in my entire life. And the worst part, I still loved her. Somewhere deep down, I kept hoping she'd come clean, admit everything, and maybe, just maybe, she'd realize what she'd thrown away, but I knew that was wishful thinking. She'd lied, manipulated, and kept her secret for so long that I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. I started questioning everything about my relationship. Was I ever truly happy? Or was I just afraid of being alone? Did I love her, or did I love the idea of us? The lines blurred, and I knew I had to make a decision soon. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, in this emotional hell. The pain was too much, and I knew that I had to take control of my life again. I was tired of being the victim, tired of feeling like I'd been played for a fool. So I made a vow to myself. No more denial, no more excuses. I'd face what was real, no matter how ugly it was. I'd find my way out of this mess, even if it meant starting over alone. I couldn't let her or Jake ruin me entirely. I deserved better. I deserved honesty, respect, and loyalty. And if I had to go through hell to get there, so be it. I was done being the naive guy who believed in fairy tales. From now on, I was going to rebuild my life, piece by piece, even if it took years. That's what I kept telling myself, just keep moving forward no matter how much it hurts. After spending weeks in this emotional hell, I finally reached a point where I knew I had to make some serious decisions. I couldn't keep living in the chaos, constantly questioning everything, doubting my own worth. I started thinking clearly about what I needed to do to get out of this mess and reclaim some sense of stability. I knew I couldn't fix what was broken, not with her or Jake. They had crossed lines I could never accept. The betrayal ran too deep, and my trust was gone for good. One day, I sat down and really thought about my options. I could try to work on the marriage, maybe seek counseling, hope that she'd realize the damage she'd done and genuinely want to fix it. Or I could cut her out completely, start over, rebuild myself from scratch. Honestly, the thought of trying to salvage anything felt like an uphill battle I wasn't prepared for. Every time I thought about her, lying, sneering, trying to manipulate her way out of it, I felt the old anger come rushing back. But I also knew that revenge wasn't the answer. I didn't want to be like her, driven by hate and revenge. I just wanted peace. So I decided to separate. I told her to move out, and I was firm about it. I told her I needed space, needed to focus on myself, and that I couldn't have her in my life anymore. I set boundaries. I blocked her number, her social media, everything. I wanted to cut her out completely so I could heal. It was tough, especially the first few days. There were nights I sat alone, feeling more empty than ever, questioning if I'd ever find happiness again. But deep down, I knew this was necessary. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it was. During this period of separation, I started rebuilding my life. I threw myself into work, spent more time with friends who supported me, and went to therapy to process the pain and betrayal. Each day was a small victory, getting through it without breaking down, resisting the urge to reach out to her or to Jake. I realized I was stronger than I thought, that even after everything I could still stand tall. I was hurt, yes, but I was not defeated. The most surprising part was that, as I moved away from her, I started feeling lighter. That weight of betrayal, guilt, and confusion began to lift. I started rediscovering myself, things I loved doing before her, goals I'd pushed aside. I was learning to be alone, and surprisingly, I was okay with it. I still missed the good times, the companionship we once shared, but I also understood that some wounds take time to heal, and not all relationships are meant to survive betrayal. I also realized that forgiving her wasn't necessary. I don't think I ever will, at least not fully. But I learned to accept that I can't change her, I can't fix what's broken. I can only control my reaction. That's what gives me some peace now, that I'm choosing to focus on myself, to heal, to move on. It's not about revenge anymore, it's about reclaiming my life. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier, but I also know I can't dwell on that. What's done is done. The key now is to learn from it and never let myself be blind again. Trust is fragile, and I've learned that the hard way. If anything, this experience has made me more cautious, more aware. I don't regret ending things. It was the only choice I had left. And honestly, I feel a strange sense of relief. Not because I won, but because I finally took control of my life again. That's all I ever wanted. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything that happened, I realize how much I've changed. The pain, the betrayal, the loneliness, they've all left scars, but they've also taught me something invaluable. I've learned that trust is something you can't take for granted, and that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones most capable of hurting you. I used to believe in loyalty and honesty, but now I see that it's a fragile thing that must be guarded carefully. One thing I'm certain of is that I'm stronger than I thought. The heartbreak was brutal, but it forced me to confront my own resilience. I learned to stand up for myself, to stop blaming myself for her actions, and to understand that I deserve someone who genuinely values me. I don't hate her. I truly don't. I just acknowledge that she isn't the person I thought she was, and that's okay. Sometimes, letting go is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. I've also come to appreciate the importance of boundaries. I won't allow anyone to manipulate or betray me again. I've become more cautious about who I trust, and I've learned to listen to that little voice inside that warns me when something's off. It's not about being paranoid. It's about respecting myself enough to walk away from toxicity before it destroys me. Most importantly, I've realized that life goes on, even after the worst betrayal. The pain doesn't disappear overnight, but it becomes manageable. I'm slowly rebuilding my sense of self, rediscovering what makes me happy, and learning to enjoy my own company without feeling guilty or empty. I'm no longer the naive guy who believed in fairy tales. I'm someone who now understands the importance of honesty, loyalty, and respect. So, here's what I want anyone reading this to take away. If you find yourself in a similar situation, don't be afraid to cut ties, even if it hurts. Don't settle for lies and manipulation. Trust your gut and remember that you deserve honesty and loyalty more than anything. No relationship is worth sacrificing your peace or self-respect. It's brutal, it's painful, but sometimes losing it all is the only way to find your true strength. And in the end, that's what matters. The ability to stand back up after falling, to rebuild what was broken, and to come out stronger on the other side.